bring my nigga home and let ride. We out of cloud in the sky. We let the breeze keep it high. Who said the shit can't fly? Rain clouds, let it fly. Rain clouds, let it fly. People understand that we both come up there, but we knocking doors off the hinges, trying to stay one with ourselves and not these breezes. The AK say I can go anywhere without a lens. Don't let these other side your leads hide your vision along with smoking mirrors. I had to take a breath and chill on it. I got some soul that's if you still want it. Down home country shit, bitch, yeah, I'm still on it. You might have bit a style or two, but ain't no skill.
Good morning, Pharaoh.
Ain't no rims on it. Candy paint and covered it up that you can throw some cream on it. Say you got that Getty green. Why you sprinkle stems on it? I got family to feed it. Just you throw some PMs on it. Trim on it. Money trees, deep water to throw some PMs on it. Line house 2 or 3 and let my mama DM on it.
Hey, Jelly Baby, how you doing? Top of the day, truth teller. Hey, Lex. Suli, what's happening? How are you guys this Sunday morning?
How many drinks you need to stop the shakes? I know the feeling when the ceiling's the only thing to watch. And it's either gas your car or buy food for your spot. Ain't no plot. On the guy they call you for them beats. Said they make don't give a fuck. It's how you know shit's real. So we comply, get by is hard enough. Them y'all know what you selling because they ain't that far from you. Say they too damn costly. And them junkies big bucks.
All right, so I'm not gonna take as long to get to the point, like I usually do. Okay. Make sure you guys hit that like button on your way in. For me, I'm doing pretty well. I can't complain. I'm feeling really refreshed. I went to my mom's house, like I was talking about last night, and we watched, what was the name of the movie? It was some movie with Morgan Freeman where he's playing the president. It's like America Has Fallen or The Country's Fallen or something like that. And it was a Secret Service agent who was framed for an assassination attempt. I think that was the plot. And it was pretty decent. You know, we just chilled, and I went and I slept because my daughter has a room at my mom's house. So I went and I slept in my daughter's room. Yeah, and I just, woke up and worked out. So I'm feeling good. Feeling good. So I'm ready to get the day started. I just got back home and I want to pick up where I left off yesterday. Okay. So with this whole, the astrology behind Chiraq, I have 2 individuals that I want to touch on. And like I said, this is a series, so I won't be able to fit everybody in one live stream. We'll be here all day long. But just little by little, I want to kind of cover different people so you guys can get a better understanding of what I'm talking about when it comes to a lot of the similarities between these individuals' natal alignments. And I was also doing a lot of thinking yesterday in terms of, that Chiron placement. So as I was stating yesterday, a really big key similarity that I see amongst a lot of these individuals in their charts is, number one, Chiron afflicting their personal planets, so the sun or the moon. And like I said before, Chiron, yes, is the wounded healer, but it could also point towards extreme dysfunction. It can create just straight up recklessness, lawlessness, just a person who just can't act right, where it's just, the dysfunction is ingrained, especially if we're talking about like the moon. But also, Chiron can point to where you sustain wounds from others, but where you can look to inflict wounds upon other people yourself. And that's tend to be like, that's kind of how it goes, right? Most abusers have been abused, and so on and so forth. So like how the cycle continues to unfold. And I thought that was kind of interesting because specifically when we talk about the nature of Chiraq and the culture, it's a lot of revenge killing. It's a lot of people who don't necessarily know how to deal with those wounds and those traumas and pains and things being inflicted upon them. So they literally walk around inflicting pain and harm and dysfunction and turmoil onto other people. And that literally is the nature of Chiron as like an asteroid or whatever you want to call it. So I just thought that was interesting. So without further ado, we're going to get started with the next individual. Okay. the next individual I have on my list is Jakira Barnes, and I mentioned her briefly in yesterday's live stream, and she is one of the most notorious female GDs or gangsters, assassins in this whole Chiraq scene. So she was killed back in, I believe, 2014 when she was 17 years old. But prior to that, she had built a really large reputation for being like a gangster and one of the type of people who will literally like kill you and everybody that you with. Okay. I believe allegedly she wasn't formally convicted or sentenced or tried for any murders, but according to the streets and different information that I've had access to, she's been linked to like 17 to 20 different murders, allegedly. Right. So she gained a really big reputation, which is unusual because you'll normally hear a lot of women, like, especially when girls and women are gang affiliated, a lot of times it'll be because they're dating a guy, right? It's like, okay, girl, you're not really a Crip. Like you fuck Crips. We get it. You're not really GD, girl. You fuck GD. So like, whatever. But no, she was actually, as they say, quote unquote, putting in work. Like she was actually one of the type of women, because I believe she was a lesbian, if I'm not mistaken. So she didn't even like guys. So she literally made a reputation for herself for being a very violent, cold, deadly killer. And unfortunately, that is something that in that culture, especially, that a lot of people praise you about. That, you know, that's how you kind of get your stripes and whatever. So I'm going to pull up a picture of her so you guys can see who I'm talking about, and then we'll get into her chart. And she was like really young, and I believe she actually knew Vine. Now I hear a lot of allegations, and once again, these are strictly allegations. I am not involved in Chiraq, the trenches. Then they got shit to do with me, okay? But you know, just from informational purposes only, they were a lot of people have alleged that King Von had something to do with her death, and you know, because she was on the scene around the same time he was, and everybody knows that King Von has had like a very weird past or shady past when it comes to a lot of the gang culture and whatever, because I think King Von was BD while she was you know, GD. So it gets really deep. It goes with the rabbit hole, goes really deep. So I encourage you guys, if that's a headspace you want to be in, it's very Scorpio like, right? This is Scorpio season. You know, getting your investigative skills and research on and digging into crime, you know, and I already have natural Scorpio placement. So that's why this, you know, especially around this time of year, I just kind of get lost in these things like crime shows, documentaries. Like, so let me pull up her picture now. And she was a cute girl. She was a cute girl. As you can see here. Cute girl. Lots of potential. You came from the gym. Ooh, come on, get it in. Ain't nothing like those early morning, early day workouts. We're picking up where we left off on the astrology behind Chiraq. So Jakira Barnes is her name, or was her name. And she was born on January the 21st, 1997. Y'all be sure to hit that like button on your way in if you are just now joining us, please. Because we do have 21 people in the chat, but 7 likes. So do me a favor, hit that like button. And also, donations are not required, but they are definitely appreciated because we are trying to grow this channel, grow this platform. I want to up a lot of the technology here. So, you know, always feel free to, it's Sunday, right? Tithes. Okay, anyway. So she was born on January 21st, 1997. Now, it made a lot of sense given that she's an Aquarius sun, you guys. Her sun is actually at the 1st degree of Aquarius, which was very fitting because Aquarius is the sign of homosexuality. It is the LGBTQ kind of sign of the zodiac. So, you know, for her, it just makes so much sense that she was clearly a stud, clearly, obviously. So I just thought that was interesting. But that 1st degree, that number 1, people with very prominent 1 energy, especially when we're talking about women, these are very manly women. And as you can see, you know, from her aesthetic to, the way she would carry herself and so on and so forth, she was very masculine. She was very masculine, you know, and these are also, they can be very independent minded individuals. These are people who can be very willful. So can Aquarians, like willful and stubborn in their own way. And people where it's like they tend to attract a lot of attention. But when you attach it to that Aquarian energy, I could see where a person could be willing to go to extreme lengths to get attention, or where these people could participate in very shocking behavior, right? These are also people, because Aquarius is in another one of those like stereotype words that, or, you know, the keywords that people use when they talk about Aquarians is like the rebel, right? The rebellions and the people who are just kind of fringe and like, I don't give a fuck you. Like, and if they're really dark-sided, they can take that shit to an extreme. These are also people who can, from an emotional standpoint, be very cold. Okay, your dark-sided Aquarians can be very cold. To the point where you are able to dehumanize another individual, or dehumanize or completely remove any type of emotions from a situation, which, I mean, if you ask me, is the perfect recipe for a killer, right? A perfect recipe to participate in a lifestyle that would require the regular and constant kind of you know, gunning down of human life. Now, is this to say that she did not have emotions? Absolutely not. But these are people who can really tap into a lot of that energy, especially with her son at the first degree. You know, that number one can deal with, because it carries a lot of Leo energy. It can deal with the person who does, in fact, have a lot of, like, they can have a big heart, or they have a capacity to have a big heart and things like that, right? But at the same time, that Aquarian energy kind of overrides that. It will kind of trump a lot of that. So that was the first observation. Okay, second observation was that, thank you, Janelle. Janelle said, hey, Megan, you said the first degree women are manly, or like 1 digit degree. The first degree, the number one, because that number one is governed by the sun, okay? Or Leo. It's that number one is Leo energy. And in the same way that a lot of Leo women can have a lot of very masculine energy, right? Because of that sun influence, that divine masculine energy, the way that they present themselves can be very counter to what most people have socialized women to be. Okay. So that's where I got that from. But her sun happens to square her Chiron, which is at the first degree of Scorpio. So you see that number one influence once again. And this also, I want to point out the observation that I made in terms of that Chiron pattern. So are y'all picking up the pattern here? Yesterday when we talked about 600 Breezy, he had Chiron squaring his Chiron in Cancer South Node squaring his sun in Mercury. Okay, this time Jakira, excuse me, has her sun squaring her Chiron in Scorpio. And with Scorpio being the sign of death, squaring her sun, you guys, this is a person who, yes, absolutely meets all of the requirements in terms of Chiron afflicting a personal planet. So a person who is gravely wounded, a person who is gravely dysfunctional, lots of issues. But these are people who can be, where it could create a person who can be evil. It almost breeds it breeds this kind of environment where you have a person who thrives. And you can even look at this because your sun is your claim to fame. So where she's directly built this reputation for herself for being almost like a Grim Reaper type of character. Now, this could also even deal with where she's experienced a lot of death in her own right, in her own regard. Once again, you know, the wounding other people. You know, a lot of the death of her peers and childhood friends, which is also very true because the research that I did on her, she, you know, a lot of people were mentioning that, like, the reason why she, you know, even got involved in the gang life to begin with, people noticed a distinct difference in her after, I believe it was like one of her favorite cousins, excuse me, was gunned down at the age of 13. And as time went on, people just started noticing her going from like this super intelligent little girl, you know, like, okay, this little girl with a lot of potential, to a fucking maniac, like where she would completely like zone out and like be this cold, callous individual. And she would take to social media, which is also represented with that Aquarian energy. Okay. And she would tweet some of the craziest shit. So yeah, that Sun square Chiron in Scorpio is a huge contributing factor to her behaving the way that she did. You know, it gave a person, it could kind of even give a person up close and personal, a very karmic relationship with death, to where death followed her. You know, death was surrounding her, and to the point where she allowed herself to get so caught up in that, where she was willing to participate in that. And obviously that came back on her tenfold, because she literally died at 17. Like literally. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button on your way in for me. Okay, they said when Tuka died, she changed. And I want to do him. I want to look up his natal chart too. But that makes a lot of sense. Soon as she got shot, he made a tweet about her. Yeah, 3 minutes later, mocking her. I heard of that. Good morning. Did you hear Jeremiah is sick? I did hear that. And that's sad. I hope he pulled through. I really do. So there's that. Okay. Now, she's a Cancer moon, which, like I was saying before, this is another similarity that I've seen throughout a lot of these charts. Not always, but a lot of these people do have very strong Cancer energy. And that Cancer energy comes from, like, it literally represents gangs. Like, it could definitely encompass a person's interest in, like, gang life, gang activity, and all that stuff. So I thought that was very, 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 very interesting. And yeah, directly dealt with her influence in you know, gang warfare. And her moon is actually squaring her nodes. She actually has her south and her south node at the first degree of Aries. So mind you, that number one coming into play again, a lot of this masculine energy. These are people who can have huge egos. These are people, like I said, could be very stubborn. But with that Aries South Node energy, I mean, once again, this is a person who was born and bred for violence. You know, a lot of, and this is not to say every Aries South Node is just a naturally violent person, but they are people where conflict, things like that can just naturally come to them. These are people who could have died violently in past lives. I also feel like another reason why she came into this life in such a masculine way, and it also has a lot to do with that Aries South Node. These are people, especially when we're talking about women with Aries South Nodes, 9 times out of 10, they probably were a man in a past life, right? And then came into this life, and now you got to learn how to work shit out, right? With that Libra North Node, you got to learn the ways of the opposite sex and kind of assimilate into being the opposite sex. And she clearly had a difficult time doing that. But yeah, her moon squaring that Cancer moon squaring her Aries South Node. That's gang violence all day. Okay, being quick to pull a trigger, being quick to you know, shoot, kill, being involved in all of these type of things, being associated with gangs and all that stuff. Very much so. Very much so. Let me see what else. Of course, she had Uranus. Okay, her Uranus. She's a part of that Uranus, an Aquarius generation, which is another reason why these people, like people from this particular generation, care a lot about their friendships. They also utilize social media more than any other generation, you know, before them. And with her Uranus at the 4th degree, that's double Aquarian energy, because that number 4 is governed by Uranus, squaring Chiron. That also reinforces her being involved with like peers who are a bad influence on her. Okay. And it just points to where, once again, she just had a way about her that could not be controlled, where she was reckless, where she was just out of control, where she was just too far gone, where, you know, that darkness, that death and things like that, where those things really followed her. And a lot of people around her, like I said, were definitely really bad influences. Now, I would also wonder too, with her son squaring Chiron, that could deal with the person whose father passed on very early on. So like I said, she, and I think that was the case, but I'm not sure. But that's what that aspect could deal with. And like I said, these are people where death could be very prominent themes within their lives. So there's that. She also has her, what is this? She has her son, okay, conjunct Jupiter at the 29th degree of Capricorn. So that number 29, Jupiter at the 29th degree, could produce a person who has issues with their image. So you could tie that back into, I would even view that to be her being somebody who could even be uncomfortable. Maybe she was uncomfortable with her sexuality, that type of thing. But, it also speaks to a lot of the dysfunction that she experienced just as a person, right? As a person, her having like this notorious reputation, or a reputation that preceded her being infamous. I also question a lot about her upbringing in terms of her mother. Now, in some of the things that I was able to get my hands on, a lot of people were saying that her mother was telling people like, no, my daughter was such a sweet girl. Kind of with like most people who have these type of fates, like their parents, you'll talk to their parents and their parents will describe a completely different person. And I get it, like as a parent myself, nobody wants to think like that of their child, right? Somebody told me my child, like, yo, she's out here wilding, like she's out here killing niggas. Like, as a mother, I would never want to think that about my child, but I also feel like realistically, you don't know your children. I don't know. That's just kind of like you can love your child, think highly of them, but also know what your child is capable of. But that's just me. So yeah, but her, with her moon squaring her nodes like that could even point to where she came from a very violent home dynamic. So it's just like, I feel like she and her mother could not, or they could have been the type to not have the best relationship, I guess is what I'm saying. Or where the mother could have been a very volatile kind of individual herself. Where she just kind of didn't get the type of attention that she really needed. I also meant to mention too that Aries South Node could even deal with a person who has a lot of identity issues. All right. Which could have also came from home and things like that. And so I just thought that was very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. She has her Mars conjunct her Libra North Node, which is forming an opposition to that Aries South Node, which could also even deal with her attracting a lot of enemies, gaining a lot of enemies. And also, I would argue, has a lot to do with her being sniped out in the way that she was, or it could even deal with, her earning the name as an assassin, because a lot of people don't give Libra the credit it deserves for being the sign of warfare. Okay, Libra is also a sign that deals with warfare, but instead of, I would associate Aries to be like more so like direct confrontation, like either hand-to-hand combat, or somebody who step into you, with a gun, like in your face. I'm gonna walk up to him and mow him down, right? You make me mad, I'm gonna just jump across the table and stab you. That's Aries. That's the type of warfare that comes along with that Aries energy. Libra is more strategic and passive. So, it requires the type of warfare where a person could like kind of get up and close and personal with their enemies, learn the ops, learn the way that they work. And then when the person least expects it, they strike. Right. Or where you are somewhere kind of like plotting and learning people's locations and where they are. And then right when the person has their guards down, you ambush them. Right. Or you attack them when they are off guard. That's that Libra energy. And so the fact that her Mars is conjunct that Libra North Node in opposition to her Aries South Node could absolutely point to where that could have been her kind of attack style, right? Let me catch a op lacking and I'm whatever. But it could also very well deal with the same way in which she died also. Very much. Very much. Okay. But yeah, that Mars conjunct that Libra North Node in and of itself can produce a person who has a lot of enemies, y'all. It really can. And let's see, her Mars is forming in opposition to her Saturn. How could I forget that? Her Saturn is conjunct that Aries South Node. So that's lots of karma. Lots of karma attached to your temperament, to, you know, the conflict and the violence that ensues in your life. Where, and you know, it could even deal with where she's just hard. She was a hard-headed individual, having that Mars conjunct your Libra North Node in opposition to Saturn and that Aries South Node is a person who is always at odds with other people. You know, and that further reinforces my point. Like, I feel like this is something that she grew up in, like, even before it manifested in terms of like gang life. I feel like this could have had a lot to do, of course, with her father. Her father he could have got shot, but, you know, she could have experienced this with a lot of authority figures in her life, you know, or just people who had any type of authority over her. And that's also very Aquarius too. Like, you know, especially even with that number one energy, there's a lot of like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm the only one who's in charge of my life type of thing. So I also, and just intuitively, I feel like her mother wanted her to be somebody that she wasn't, or her mother could have been kind of like a bully as well. That's what I'm getting. And I do get a lot of how she turned out was rebellion. I really do. But that's just me, especially with her moon squaring that Saturn and that South Node. You know, she definitely had it out with her mom, for sure. Then her moon is forming an opposition to her Mercury at the 6th degree of Capricorn. Okay, now that could deal with a mental imbalance, which is also not uncommon when I dissect the charts of a lot of these Chicago individuals. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of these folks are not wrapped too tight. A lot of them are not wrapped too tight. And unfortunately, when you add that with a lot of other social factors, and it's just a recipe for disaster. It just is. It just is a recipe for disaster. Let's see. And it could also even deal with where she cared about a lot about what people thought of her. Even having that Mars, you know, conjunct that Libra North Node. I feel like she naturally was somebody who cared a lot about what people thought of her. She has her Mercury squaring Saturn. I feel like she could have been a little, I feel like she could have been a little slow. I'm not going to lie. Either a little slow or, once again, extremely hard-headed. A person where it's just, you can't tell them nothing. She was just one of those people. You just can't tell her nothing. Sun conjunct Neptune, that deals with the absence of her father, especially with her Neptune at that 27th degree of Capricorn. So there's that. She could have also been the type to have had like a drug problem, alcohol problem, which is also not uncommon when you're looking at the charts of a lot of these Chicago kids. Okay. So I'm trying to make sure I covered all the big points that I wanted to make. Oh, and then she has her Jupiter, that Jupiter at that 29th degree of Capricorn squaring her Chiron at their 1st degree of Scorpio. That's another aspect that deals with her being notorious for killing. Her being infamous for killing. Okay, so she has a lot of stuff going on. Sun conjunct Uranus, that's another aspect that could deal with the person where you can't tell them shit. So she was just she was one of those people who kind of just had to learn the hard way, but it's kind of sad though. So I'm going to read these comments and we will move on to the next person. I've been waiting on someone to do this. I've been saying Chicago is a reincarnation factory. What do you mean by that? Taylor Starks, if you're still with me. Facts, even in good pictures and videos, Chicago looks so gloomy in the hood areas. Listen, I went to Chicago, maybe this was 2016, on a business trip. I was working for Allstate at the time, and they took me because Allstate's corporate headquarters is in Chicago, and they took me, or they paid for my trip to Chicago, and like we would attend these like workshops during the day, but at night everybody want to go out party. And I remember meeting like and just having coworkers who was like, "Yeah, we finna go to that." I'm like, "Listen, bitch, let's be very clear, okay? I am staying downtown with the white folks, okay? Not that I too much particularly care about them either, but let's just be very clear, sweetie. I did not come all the way here to like I don't want to go on a field trip to the hood, honey. I don't want to go to O Block. I'm not trying to run. I don't want to meet Chief Keef. Like let's be just very, very clear about this. And even the Uber drivers, when we would take Uber, our Uber rides from one place to the next, you know, to go get food or whatever, they would be like, "Yeah, where do you want to go?" They were very specific, like, or like if it was a route where they didn't feel comfortable taking it, they would let us know, like, "Oh, well, there's an alternative route. I don't like driving on such and such side of town," you know. And I was talking to one of the Uber drivers. He was like, "Yeah, nah, like for real, I've had some very bad experiences down there, like Southside Chicago. I refuse to go, you know, that type of thing." So I'm just like, I don't have the time. I believe you. I will not go. Libra is more passive. They're sneaky. They are. Chicago is very depressing. Do you look into midpoints or is it too much? I don't. Not really. She is pretty, or she was pretty, yeah. Hey, Patricia. Why is Chiraq so infamous for violence? I mean, a large portion is because they put it in music. And so when the drill scene blew up musically, you know, and I was just thinking like Chief Keef really had the entire world dancing and mocking a dead 15-year-old child. Like, Tuka, something, Tuka. And like, and when you really, when you remove yourself from it, from like a consumer entertainment standpoint and really start investigating the real life actions behind a lot of what's going on or a lot of the things that went on, it's like, what the fuck? Like, honestly, I'm gonna be real, y'all. Like, and I said this in my Lil Vine live, because I said Lil Vine, King Vine live, because I am kind of conflicted. I have cognitive dissonance because I do enjoy like trap music. I do enjoy, you know, certain stuff like that, but it specifically when we're talking about Chicago, it makes you realize how demonic and low vibrational. I mean, it's literally death chants. Their music is death chants. And then people get all shocked when, you know, the shit that they talk about happens. And it's like, it's been happening. But even with King Von, it's like, yeah, we mad because we liked his music. Well, people liked his music. I didn't really listen to a lot of his music, but people are upset because it's inconveniencing us from an entertainment standpoint. And to me, that's kind of selfish, because it's like, think about all the people who have actually real life lost their lives behind this, people who have been affected by this. But, you know, we consume it for our viewing pleasure. We don't, I ain't from Chicago, so I ain't got to deal with it. So it's just, it's very unfortunate. But yeah, even with, and the next person, this is a really good segue, because I'm going to do Lil JoJo. Now, let me pull up his picture. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lil JoJo, but Lil JoJo is, or was, he was a really big and a big key figure in this whole Chiraq movement that a lot of people don't really know who he is, because he was a part of the GD. Now, when it comes to the Chiraq drill scene, a lot of the BDs have been overrepresented. They make up like 90%. They account for 95% of the type of drill music that on a mainstream level comes out of Chicago that most people know. But what a lot of people don't know is that Lil JoJo, he was a GD. I think he was GDK, which might be like a branch off sector of GD. They kind of ignited a beef. They had a long and ongoing feud with the BDs, and he kind of created history in a way back in, when was this, 2010, where he came out with a diss song. And I ain't even gonna sing the song. I know exactly the song it is, but I'm not even gonna sing it because I'm not trying to chant that type of energy. Like, I don't want none of that. So he came out with a song that dissed BDs, right? And it like shook the whole Chicago. And it went viral because this is the age of YouTube, right? So everybody's hopping on YouTube, and I remember it being a big thing. And, you know, literally, like, I don't know if it was like a few weeks later, a few days later, he got killed. And he was only 18 years old, but the nigga looked 12, okay? And straight up got killed. He was outside and got gunned down. And once he died, it created this, it kind of fanned the flames in the sense that, like, you had a whole group of people who kind of took his side, and then a whole group of people who took BD's side. So, and we're talking like the Chief Keefs and the King Vines and the Lil Durks, all of those guys that most of us know, those are actual BDs. And they would make music, and they would throw Lil JoJo's name in the music. And that's a lot of what like Chicago drill artists would do. Like, they would taunt their enemies. They would taunt, even once you die, they would like make fun of the dead, which is another really good way to curse yourself. You know, like straight up just like antagonizing dead people and making fun of them and mocking them and ridiculing them. So yeah, they would put him in a lot of their music, like, oh, I'm smoking on a JoJo pack or whatever, that however they, you know, when they would refer to their ops and stuff. So I just thought that was very interesting because I didn't really get into like learning more about JoJo until recently. And like I said, JoJo was a kid. And I think a lot of Chicago now is called JoJo World or whatever. So now you got the kids who are from JoJo World beefing with listen, y'all gonna have to research it on your own. I'm not really doing a good job of explaining this because it's a whole lot. And like I said, the rabbit hole goes really deep, and it's a lot of people who have lost their lives. Excuse me, a lot of people who have lost their lives behind this. And it was just so sad to see because I don't know if I would say the boy JoJo had like I don't know if I would be like, oh my God, he was the next Pac, you know, because even listening to some of his music, I don't know if I would be like he's just super lyrically talented. But it was a shame that he wasn't able to grow and kind of you know, come into his own fame or whatever, get his own recognition within his own right. But he does have a brother who did an interview with Vlad TV. Y'all go check that out. I forgot the man's name. But yeah, we're going to get into Lil JoJo and his chart because he had a very interesting chart. Yeah, the history of gang violence in Chicago is very interesting. And something else that people don't understand, and if you're just now joining me, please hit that like button. Hit the like button for me. But, you know, something else that people don't really understand is Chicago is notorious for its gang scene, but not just necessarily amongst Black gangs, okay? You got the mafia, you know what I mean? Like the really big cartels. And that extends back to like the prohibition days when motherfuckers was like trapping alcohol out the bando. Like, you know, so a lot of people only talk about the Black portion of it, but like Chicago and its crime scene and its reputation for gangs and all that shit goes really deep. It transcends race. I just think that when it comes to the Black gangs, you have an added element or an added factor of socioeconomic disadvantage. So whereas with the white mafias, you had like, you know, they were actually getting money. You know, they were white people making money, and they just happened to be a part of organized crime. They were ruthless. They were brutal. They were, you know, like they was walking around smoking each other too. But when you add the Black kids in the Black Chiraq scene, it's like you got a whole bunch of poor people in one, you know, part of the city with nothing else better to do, you know, no type of resources, no type of outlets. A lot of these people coming from broken homes, broken families. So there are many different layers of the onion to unpeel when we talk about the problem with Chicago and the problem with Chiraq. And then also you got to take into account that a lot of these people, a lot of these young black kids, I mean, they were extremely young and it wasn't organized. So whereas like the white moms and the white crime scenes, they had a system. It was a system. It was a hierarchy. It was order. It was structure. Okay, you got the Godfather, and then you got the people who work under him, and you know you got to play by these rules. But when it came to like the Chicago scene, it was a free for all because that's what makes it so unique. You don't have a group of elders or just a group of people in authority who giving out orders like you would in regular gangs. Like it's literally everybody just on their own shit, and it's the wild, wild west. Like everybody, there's no regard, ain't no rules. We killing you, we killing mamas, we killing babies, we kill like no regard. Like it's just niggas running around with guns, angry, mad, ain't got no type of training, don't know how to shoot a gun right. So you go and try to shoot your quote unquote op, and you killing everybody on the block. You see what I'm saying? It's unorganized. It's all over the place. There's poverty, and it happens at a quicker rate. So now here we are. And it's sad. It's very sad. I wonder if Lil Durk is worried about his lifespan. Probably. He has a lot of energy in his chart that could point towards him being paranoid. I did a reading on him, like I was saying yesterday on my live, on my Patreon account. It's crazy how much Lil JoJo favors XXX. Let me pull him up. Let me pull up Lil JoJo right now. I was like, oh Lord have mercy. The boy looked like he was like 11. And every time you pull him up, there's and I really don't want to see this. I don't want to see it, but y'all see it. So let me just click a different picture because his casket photo comes up, and his casket picture, he looks so different, y'all, from how he looked in real life. And I know that happens. I know that's a part of like that happens a lot when we talk about like embalming, but that's a whole different story, bro. That shit was just sad. Just look at it. Look. This is Lil JoJo. It's some serious, demonic energy. Yeah, Gangster Disciple GD. Yes, I'm just like, wow. It is petty. Mimyoko? It is petty. It's very petty. But you know what? It reaches a point of no return because at a certain point, no matter as to what the original reason really was, if people are dying, now you just have a whole bunch of revenge killings going on where it's like, okay, well, you killed my cousin, so I'm going to go and kill your cousin, or I'm going to kill you. And then your cousins is going to come and kill me or kill my cousins in it. And so no matter what the original problem was, right, which is usually, like you said, very petty, when people like having a group of kids who are as quick to like be trigger happy like that, it doesn't matter what the real problem is because now, like it's just like now is it's out of control. It escalates. I'm pretty sure that there are some white and Latino gang members in Chicago. Absolutely. Hello, Fleur Esteval. Yeah, I heard that they were Hispanic. Lil Durk is a colorist. He absolutely is. And I can definitely see that. Lil Durk has a lot of Cancer energy going on. And anytime I see that, and like I was saying, that Cancer energy, could also deal with gangs. But if afflicted, especially if we're talking about men, absolutely can produce a colorist. I'm not really surprised by that. So I wonder if this heavy energy is spiritual. It absolutely is. This heavy, violent energy there's a huge spiritual component to it. Yes, join the Patreon fam. He is, and no one really talks about him being colorist. His first baby mama, ain't it? Yeah, I think, is she white? I think she's white. In Chicago, we have hella gangs with different races. People in Chicago just don't give a fuck. Some of my friends, homies, just got shot for saying a nigga was tall. Like, wow. Hey, Robin. Hey, y'all, if you're just now joining the chat, do me a solid, hit that like button, okay? because we are participating in the energy exchange. And they curse themselves. It's definitely, yeah, Hispanic gang members. Back when the riots was happening, there was a small war between Hispanics. I remember seeing that too, Unique. Lil Durk face right, mama look like a lunch lady. Not the lunch lady. Hell no. She do look. Hold on, let's look her up. Let's be petty, y'all. Hold on, before we get into JoJo. Oh shit, what am I doing? Let's get into Lil Durk, white baby mama. I'm like, you know, these black. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her. And these black boys, the color struck ones, they don't give a fuck what type of white chick they fuck with. They just be fucking with white chicks. Like, it don't matter if she look good. That's one thing I will say. When black women date outside of our race, we go for good looking men, like men where it's undeniable, no matter how the fuck you feel about it. Like I could go get me an Indian man tomorrow. And if you're not into Indian men, you're going to have to give me my props. Like, damn, okay. System found her in Aladdin. Like, Aladdin low-key sexy. Like, I don't even like these niggas be so color struck and they just be so anti-black. They don't give a fuck. Like, they will date a bitch who look like Miriam from fucking Courage the Cowardly Dog, or like the lunch lady, or this bitch. She look like she stank, bro. She look like she smelled like cottage cheese and stress. Like, but and they also be in this, shout out to all my beautiful vanilla brothers and sisters, because this is not to say I don't fuck with all white people, but it is to say a lot of the wiggers and the snow bunnies, they be on some other shit. Like they be the type to like do stupid shit that good and hell well no black bitch finna let you do. Or maybe a lot of us will let you do, but shit like put shit in your name, and that's another reason why they like a certain type of black guy that dates outside of his race. That's kind of the appeal with that too, right? Because they are the type of women to allow certain things to go down and allow them to do certain shit that you cannot get away with on the home front, nigga, because I'm finna be like, boy, go to hell, okay? You're not getting my car, okay? So you can go do drive-bys all day. Then when I go pick my son up or my daughter up from daycare, now you got the op shooting at my car. Nigga, go to hell. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But here come the lunch lady. 100. Gang. 100. The 300, like, girl, go sit down. And how much I want to bet? Like, because these women be women that, like, nobody wants with it. Because, look at her. No offense, but look at her. Just look at her. Look at her. What white man want to be bothered with this? Look at her. She look like Fiona from Shrek. What white man wants to be bothered with that? Yuck. Don't know white man of quality and substance want this on his arm. They already think everybody fat. White men like they women built a certain type of way. They like them to look a certain type of way. So once you realize a lot of these fat white girls, when they realize that, or just ugly white girls, the Mountain Dew drinking types, once they realize they can't get the man that they want in their own race, they start dating out. And when they start dating out, they benefit from the anti-blackness because, like I said, you have niggas who are just so color struck. They don't give a fuck what the bitch look like. Like, she could look like a whole woolly mammoth, like an albino woolly mammoth. But because she's not black, it's a go. It's a go. I'm dead. I'm not surprised he's a colorist because India's colorist, I would like to know more. Maybe we can look into India's birth chart too. I honestly don't know much about her. I know she's a cute girl. She is a cute girl. I'm not gonna lie. She's a cute girl. and I would see her in pictures with Durk, and that's it. Because does she do anything? Does she have a talent that I don't know about? Excuse the squirt sounds. I'm spraying my essential oils again. I got to keep my... Hold on. Is this working? There we go. But yeah, it's kind of sad. I was listening to a podcast and they said Chicago is on the same geographical line as Iraq. And I can definitely see that. Hey, y'all, if you're just now joining the chat, press that thumbs up button. They curse themselves by claiming they are demons and not being specific with which demon energy they want to invoke. Period. Make it big, make it big. How can I make it big? This on Twitter. Y'all are so messy. It's okay. I love it. I'm messy too. Damn, now they're showing me shit about the elections. Like, bitch, I don't want to see this. This shit get confusing. What are we talking about here? Okay, can I enlarge this one? She must have a dope personality now. She's just a white girl. That's it. She looked like a Donkey Kong in a waist. Give her very much Miss Patty. It's quote unquote good and bad demons. Could you explain, Robin? I would like to hear more about that. True, they bring chaos to themselves. I don't care. I like white men and Latino, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. Listen, I ain't nothing wrong with that at all whatsoever. And I will say too, because Durk has that Sagittarius North Node. Excuse me. A lot of people with Sagittarius North Nodes tend to find themselves in interracial relationships, or like people with very prominent Sagittarian energy. I'm a Sagittarius sun. Like I said, I do not mind. I don't mind the idea of dating outside of my race at all. It's just I haven't had a chance to. I've had certain flings with people outside of my race. Like I remember back in college, I used to make out with this dude. He was where was he from? He was like one of those international students. He was from Venezuela. Some nigga from Venezuela. And he used to talk to me like this. And I'm like, I don't know what this motherfucker's saying, but he's sexy as hell though. We can kiss. And but the cultural barrier was kind of weird. And I think he kind of fetishized me, which is okay because I kind of fetishized him too. So we just kind of came together. We would go to parties, get drunk, make out, and then move on with our lives. And then there was also this other white guy that I kind of was talking to. And the funny thing about it is, like, when I first met him, I was introduced to him when I was in like my freshman year. And I remember cussing his ass out because, should I say his name? Fuck it, I'm gonna say his last name. Everybody called him Peacock, right? And word around town was that his parents actually owned a lot of the school. Basically he came from a very rich, affluent family. A rich ass family in Valdosta. And either they owned the school or they had dealings. They partnered with some of the school. They were responsible for some of the contract work that was being done. Rich ass motherfucker, long story short. Okay. But when you saw him, he was giving me very much, what is that movie called, you guys? The Malibu movie? What is it called? What's the movie called? Malibu, whatever the fuck. He was giving me very much Malibu type of tea. I've never been sexually attracted to black men. Oh, interesting. And like, he just gave me Wigga vibes. Like, when we would talk, he'd be like, yeah, shorty. And I'm like, bro. And I was asking my niggas, like, why did y'all, okay, Malibu's Most Wanted, thank you. And I'm like, why the fuck did y'all bring me around this weird ass motherfucker? Like, cause they're like, man, he cool, bro. He cool. That nigga cool. And he had all the meat. I mean, y'all know how that shit go. He the white boy. He got all the weed, all the niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, the niggas was like really fucking with him just because that nigga was just, he was good for the dope. But I'm just like, I'm just listening to him talking. I'm just staring at him in disgust. Like, bitch, what the fuck? Like, oh my God. And I remember cussing his ass down. I don't even remember all the shit that I said. Like, bitch, you and like it was like a whole situation. And I didn't like him. I was like, bitch, I spit on you. Like, I was so disgusted. And my friends was like, you gotta chill. Like, he cool. I'm like, don't bring me around that bitch no more. I ain't with none of that weird shit. So all these years passed, and we graduated from college, and maybe this was like not that long ago, maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago. He hits me up. We kind of get back cool on like social media and kind of start feeling each other out. Now he kind of gives me Kid Rock vibes. He done got older. He grew a beard. You know what I mean? And you could tell he's still he one of them white boys. You could tell he clearly likes black women. Like, he likes black women, but he just, I don't know. He kind of mellowed out a little bit from the wigger phase, so I kind of gave it a try. But that shit ain't work. So long story short, I'm just like, I don't mind dating outside of my race, but I want you to be very honest and really know who you are, because the minute that I get the vibe that you want some like either fetish shit or like I'm trying to be black shit or I'm performing what I think black is, I don't know. If I get any of that energy from you, it's over with. It's over with. It's over with. Bitch, don't like shut the fuck up. Like, it's over with. That shit bothers me so much. It bothers me. So if I get with a white boy, he better be like, a white boy who's like, look, it's okay. I'm white. I listen to country music. I don't even know what the fuck rap is, but I'm open. Like, just be honest about it. So I can teach you a little bit about me. You can teach me a little bit about you, and we can develop like a genuine appreciation for one another. You know what I mean? Like, where it's not like you're trying to fetishize me or you're trying to be weird. It's just like, I just happen to really like her and she's black, or I happen to really like him and he's just a white boy. Like, that's okay, baby. It's okay, babe. Babe. It's all right, babe. It's fine. And you got to be okay with me cussing your mama out or your granny out, because just because you cool don't mean your family cool. So that's another added layer. Like, okay, bring me home to your peoples, and I get one bad vibe, I'm cussing all these Mountain Dew drinking motherfuckers the fuck out. You fucking barefoot ass Blackfoot bitch. I'm cussing all of y'all out. Like, period. Like, I'm not going for that. So you got to be cool with that too. So all of that is difficult. The same thing about with a date an Asian man or Indian man. All these folks be anti-black for real. So just because you cool, don't mean your family cool. So you got to be willing to choose me over your family. And a lot of people not going to do that. But I digress. Enough ranting for the day. She was talking about got black bitches mad because his main vanilla. Who said that? Then India said blonde hair. Wait, okay, let me get this straight. India said that she's vanilla. Let's go take a look at India, you guys. Let's go look at her. Let's go take a look at India. Let's go take a look at India. Now, is she a fair-skinned girl? Yes. Is she vanilla? When I think of vanilla, I think of white. Okay? Ma'am, you're not white. Are you caramel? Perhaps. That would be accurate. Butterscotch? Okay, that would be accurate as well. Vanilla? I'm not too sure about that. So, a lot of these, a lot of light skin or lighter skin women are very colorist as well. And I'm all too familiar with that. I come from a line of very light-skinned women, very fair-skinned women. And although my mother, I can't say my mother was colorist, I can say that just noticing the way other people respond to her in certain situations and, started seeing certain things growing up, I could see how it would be easy for a lot of these girls who are lighter skinned to actually really like the fact that they are a black man's first choice and preference. They like it. But you see what you marry. Well, India is kind of different because Durk clearly is, he's an anomaly, right? Like, okay, he just so happened to get rich. But for the most part, I'm not finna fight with no light-skinned bitch about black niggas because, I mean, and we're talking collectively here, not all black men, but I'm not finna fight over like who black men want, or nor am I finna beg for like black men to want dark-skinned and brown-skinned women, because these niggas is broke as hell, they dysfunctional as hell, they don't have no money. Like, black women are the most educated group of women out of everyone. Like, why the fuck am I going to, girl, if that's what you want, if that's what you want to take pride in, bitch, go right the fuck head, bitch. Be his main, first, second, third choice, ho. Be his first, second, third, fourth, fifth choice. Because they get dogged like everybody the fuck else. So I'm not even really sure what, like, why we care. But okay. He reminds you of Jamal from House Party 2. Who's Jamal? You gotta refresh me on that. I'm a Sag North. I would talk to guys outside of my race in high school, but I never actually dated. I've only dated black men. Would you date a man outside your race? Ew, nah. White men love black women, contrary to I think that too. I slept with a white guy. Needless to say, it was white. It was. I have a Sag North node and Venus in the ninth house. I prefer black people, but I attract mostly foreigners, and that makes sense. No. Your case. Well, I'm just being honest. She's delusional. Yeah, mamas and grannies can get it. Period. I got grannies too, and they steppers. Period. Okay. Period. And my granny she's a Sagittarius too. And listen, I ain't even gonna say it because they're considered slurs. So I'm not even gonna say it, but my granny will throw out a damn white people slur in a minute. And it's so funny because like back in her day, my granny was very passable. Like I said, my family, I come from a very long line of fair-skinned women. Most black people got white somewhere back in there, you know, in the cut somewhere. So I can't remember if it was like my great grandfather who was a white man or somebody, but whatever. Everybody kind of got that, but you know, it just kind of showed up in my family, like in the phenotype. But even with that, like all of the light-skinned women in my family are steppers. Like I don't have no colorists. Well, I can't say if they're definitively colorists. I haven't experienced colorism from the women in my family. I just put it like that. I've never experienced it like that. So even to see other light-skinned women be weird about that shit, I'm like, bitch, you a duck asshole. Like that shit is so weird to me. I haven't done Chief Keef yet. She's not all that pretty to me. I think she's pretty, but she is, I will be honest, she's one of those girls who overly rely on the fact that she is, like right here in this, she's not really that cute in this picture. She overly relies on the fact that she's light-skinned. Like, you know, so I could see that. I could see, but wasn't he with, there was a period in time where he was with that girl, me, you, and Hennessy, look what you did to me. I always forget the girl name, Lord. Let a nigga train me. Her, Dej Love. I'ma get on all that if I can find me. Her. And she's a brown skin girl. But I mean, you see who he settled down and had kids with. So, you know. Not to mention, I thought she was a dyke, but whatever. We're just gonna keep moving. So yeah. Oh. Yeah, I think she's a pretty girl, but I don't care how pretty you are. You don't get to be colorist. That shit kind of, it makes you ugly a little bit. Yeah, they be colorists and like to surround themselves with women who they feel they can get more attention. Yeah. My mom is fair skinned and she's a colorist. What made you experience her as a colorist? I think India is slow to me. What's her last name? India Royale. I don't know if that's her real like name, but I would like to know her birthday. She looked kind of young. I got the Mac or the 40, March 9th, 1995. So she's a Pisces. Hold on. Let me pull up her information. I'm assuming she's from Chicago. It's not telling me. Am I tripping? Okay, she was born and raised in Chicago. Okay, hold on. Give me a second, guys. I'm just looking up her chart real quick. Just to see what she got going on. You said Durk not gonna get married no time soon. I never date no white girl unless she look like Tori Kelly. I thought she was gay too. But you know, whatever. But check out the map for the 40. And there's some macaroni. And I ain't playing with nobody. Bang around and I'ma catch your body. January, February, March. When was she born? March 9th, y'all. 1995. Oh, Lord. She young. All right. Let's see what she got going on here. Oh, Jesus. Her son's at the 18th degree. That 18 is very unfortunate, too. A Pisces. She's a Gemini moon. So having that sun square moon like that, she's not wrapped too tight. She kind of give me that right there kind of gives me crazy vibes. It gives me very much a person who is. It gives me liar vibes too. It gives me like she's not wrapped too tight, y'all. Off rip. She got Mercury at the 22nd degree of Aquarius, Venus at the 7th degree of Aquarius. So that gives me very much like like spoiled princess, but so does that Pisces energy. But the type, Venus Aquarius individuals can come up off of their relationships, like from their partners and stuff. The type of people who always are receiving different things from people. I can see how that can manifest into like a gold digger or something like that. She got a Leo Mars. That makes sense too. She got Sun conjunct Saturn in Pisces. She's a liar, y'all. I don't know what she be lying about, but with that squint, even with her Sun conjunct Pisces or Saturn in Pisces, that could even deal with her. She might be somebody who's always dated men in the drug game, especially with that 18th degree, because that can bring like a very insidious energy to where like you are surrounded by a lot of like negative influences too and stuff. So I feel like she could have always been the type to go after dope boys. That's also reinforced with her being a Scorpio North Node too, where she's attracted to that type of lifestyle, like that criminal lifestyle, or at least like what comes from it. I think she might have always kind of been attracted to dudes like that. But check out the Mac or the 40. And her child could have her children could have some health issues too. Let me see what else. She got Venus squaring her North Node, Venus, 7th degree of Aquarius. I can tell you now he's cheating on her. That's something else too. But, all right. But once again, she could be one of those girls where it probably don't matter. Then she got her son. Yeah, her son in opposition to Chiron at that 23rd degree of Virgo. One of her kids, I don't know anything about her kids or how many kids she does have, but they could be sick. Like she could have children with health issues that could also deal with her dealing with men or just having very dysfunctional relationships with men. Once again, it could deal with her dating men who get locked up. That's kind of problematic, y'all. Let's see. Sun square Jupiter. But she could be in like long distance relationships. All right, I've seen enough. She gives me very, like I said, kind of like gold digger kind of vibes, or like a drug dealer's girlfriend type of energy. Even with her being a Taurus South Node, like, you know, very vain, superficial. That's the type of energy she gives. That's the type of tea my mind is serving. Then she got in there to have her moon square and Chiron as well. I think she's a nut. Something not right about her. She's not wrapped too tight. She's not wrapped too tight. She could have some mental health issues, guys. I also feel like she might be a pill popper. Allegedly. But you know, that could also deal with the girl who somebody who sells pussy too, though. Like I said, allegedly. Sun at Pisces, Sun in opposition to Chiron and Virgo. Venus conjunct Uranus, where she deals with men who, especially with her Uranus at the 29th degree of Capricorn, where she can have these relationships that aren't really super emotional. It's a come up thing. It's like I want the bag. Pisces doesn't, I mean, it can, but I was getting that more so from her Pisces Sun in opposition to that Chiron and Virgo. Because that could also deal with like medicine as well. After seeing that white lady, I can't believe nothing he dates is for real. Okay, so it's 59 people in the chat. Once I get 50 thumbs up, we can go into JoJo's chart. Let's get those likes up, ladies and gents. 50 likes and I'll go into JoJo. Let a nigga train me. Dang, I knew you were about to say Virgo. Why Virgo energy and other placements be on the scandalous side? Because Virgos can be very dysfunctional, especially when we talk about like their dark side of Virgo energy. That Chiron and Virgo could just create a person depending on how it's aspected. A person who could be, I mean, who just is a nutcase, a person who just mentally is not all there. Like you're a little nutty. I heard Durk was messing with a trans woman. That's kind of delicious. Okay, so Durk has a Gemini South Node, and you know, that Gemini South Node, not in all situations, but in a lot of cases, can breed. Actually, I'm gonna look into that though. It can breed a person who lives double lives though. That's kind of interesting. I have no Virgo energy in my chart. It's a blessing and a curse because I have a Virgo moon and it's afflicted big time. So I don't exclude myself from that. I can be a hot ass unstable mess at times. It's a lot. So I be speaking on what I know, not what I heard, y'all. Aquarius deals with trans, but so can Scorpio. Oh, and Durk's Venus is at the 29th degree of Scorpio. He could be dating trans. That is interesting. I believe it. I'm a believer. I got Virgo and Chiron and low key do some crazy shit. I asked myself, why did you do that? And oh, okay. In the first house, wow. Ooh, the scandal. Hold on, let me pull a Durk's natal chart for you guys so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Like I said, I did a reading on him on my what you call it, but it was more so from the standpoint of like why does death follow him the way that it does. On my Patreon account. There you go. Lil Durk, where was he born? Chiraq and Chicago. When's his birthday, guys? Somebody help me out, please. When is Lil Durk's birthday? I don't feel like toggling back and forth. We're just gonna set this time to, let's say, 3 a.m. because we don't know what time he was born. Shit's for baby mama look like Trench. I be putting shit together. Where did y'all hear this? Like, where? But no, Scorpio can deal with trans energy too. Like literally. October 19th. Okay, thank you. October 19th. Next, so I'm gonna show y'all exactly what the fuck I'm talking about too. So we're gonna just never mind this chart here because we don't know his time of birth exactly. It's kind of a guesstimate, but this is what the fuck I'm talking about, guys. This right here tells me everything I need to know, especially with Venus conjunct Pluto. Venus at the number 29 could also represent trans energy. Okay, it could deal with where he could have an affinity for women or men with breasts. You know what I'm saying? Where he could be a breast man. That's also reinforced with that Cancer energy, him being a Cancer moon and a Cancer Mars. Not to mention that Cancer Mars, that's actually one of the sign placements of that can create same-sex attraction as well. Okay. So I mean, all of these signs are kind of pointing to like it's absolutely adding up. And then with that Gemini South node, like I said, Gemini can be very flexible. It can be very bi-curious. It can be, the type of person to literally live two different lives, or have one part of themselves that they present to other people and a different part of themselves somewhere else. I'm not making this shit up, y'all. If I'm lying, I'm flying. He give me Leo rising T. Yeah, it can be. It can create a very violent man. Honestly, let me see how it's aspected again. Mars in opposition to Uranus, but that's another aspect that could deal with him being attracted to, trans. that Venus conjunct Pluto in Scorpio could even deal where he could really enjoy like anal sex and stuff. So he give me the type to like get his dick sucked by a trans woman or to like fuck him in the ass. Very interesting. Mars in opposition to Neptune, that's actually another one of those aspects when I look into the charts of men who are uncomfortable with their sexuality, especially as a Cancer Mars, that could be a problem. So, we can just go ahead and say and then Mercury squaring Chiron. What did I say, y'all? These Chiraq folks, what did I say about Chiron afflicting personal planets? What the fuck did I say? Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Hold on. Let me put this thing on mute. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, that Mercury square in Chiron, especially he's a part of that what? Because his Mercury is at the 17th degree of Scorpio. So he's a part of that Chiron Leo generation. So that could yes, deal with like a learning disorder, a speech impediment, but it could also it could produce issues with siblings and friends where like, there's some underlying jealousy and competition. But it could also create a person who is like I said, like just what's the word? Like even with that Leo energy, these are people who could strive to do a lot of things in order to like receive certain attention from people, like where he could take a lot of that like that gang shit and that criminal mindset, and where he tries to like where he's created a lot of notoriety by way of that, you know what I'm saying, for himself off of that, where it's just the way that he thinks is very dysfunctional, where he just has a very dysfunctional way of relating to people and things like that. It could also make him somebody where you can't tell him nothing too. Like he could also be one of those type of people who's very stubborn. Like it's very hard to tell them shit. Or people who like everything goes back to like their own best interests. Or where he feels like he should be the exception to the rules when it comes to certain stuff because of who he is. At this point, I need to be pulling birth charts and tarot cards before the date. Hell nah. Very interesting. Like I said, once I get to 50 likes, we can go ahead and do Lil JoJo's chart. And then we'll wrap this up because I got somewhere to be. Well, primarily because Saturn and Chiron are two more like generational placements. So you're going to have a lot of people who have the same Saturn and Chiron placements. Therefore, depending on what signs that they're in, you'll see a lot of people who have the same like Saturn and Chiron placements in the same Saturn and Chiron aspects. But the way in which those aspects and placements play out are going to be different based on the other parts of the chart, if that makes sense. Right. FDR, tell them. I don't know what they doing. Just in here watching, just looking. Who's Queen Key? When I'm in a serious relationship, I love to check their natal chart and do a background check, period. Whose dogs is barking like this outside of my window? You can see Durk with a trans. Interesting. Listen, no tea, no shade to my trans girls. It's just very interesting because you have some of the most like homophobic, weird individuals, and this is the type of shit they be into. And it's just like, sexuality is very fluid. It's just interesting to see people repress it and how it plays out once you repress that energy. Okay, so boom. Now let's go back to Lil JoJo. Okay. I'm gonna just keep this picture up. Okay. Actually no, because it'll be kind of confusing. So let's just go to JoJo. Should I? Yeah, I'll go back. Okay. Here's JoJo. Okay, so Lil JoJo was born April 6, 1994 in Chicago. So yes, he was in Aries. In and of itself, once again, perfect type of energy, perfect type of recipe to be a hothead, a person who is easily interested in guns and stuff like that. I mean, as you can see here, you know, that's that Aries shit. They love them some guns, honey. Aries placements live for the guns. These are people who could have a desire for danger. Okay. And it's also reinforced with his sun at the 16th degree of Aries. That 16th degree. King Von had his son at the 16th degree. I'm not kidding you guys. That 16 energy is heavy. Heavy. 600 Breezy, I believe. He was born on the 16th. So y'all are noticing once again more similarities, more patterns with these Chiraq characters, or let me not call them characters because they are real people. That's the point. These are real people. These are real people. Okay. Queen Key, a rapper from Chicago, 600 Reasons, baby mama. I'm gonna look into her. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so right off the bat, with him having that sun at the 16th degree Aries, that can point towards a person who can have a very tragic filled life. You know what I'm saying? And so another really interesting observation that I made was this man was also, or this boy, he was a kid. He was also a Scorpio North Node. He has his Pluto conjunct Scorpio North Node. Who else has their Pluto conjunct their Scorpio North Node? Who? King Von. So, and there are a couple patterns that I want to point out too. One of those being obviously that Pluto and Scorpio energy can deal with his criminal involvement. A person who is just naturally very criminally minded, okay? And it just is what it is, right? But it could also produce a person who has an untimely death, okay? But it can also produce a person, to piggyback off of yesterday's live stream, who can be famous. People who can amass lots of fame. But it's more so, it's kind of like an infamy thing where people either widely really love you or you receive a lot of hate. Once again, something else that he definitely had in common with King Von. They create this, they're very notorious for their affiliations in the streets. So you have a lot of people who really like them. They get a lot of fanfare from it. They have a lot of followers, a huge following, but they have just as many people who fucking hate them. And they can create a lot of people who want to cause them harm. These are, and it's a part of karma. These people, because you got to think about it, these lunar nodal placements are very karmic. So these are people who can attract a lot of karma to where they can be threatened. You know, they can have near-death experiences or straight up just untimely deaths. They can check up out of here super early. You know, it just is what it is. And it doesn't help that his Jupiter's at the 12th degree of Scorpio. That number 12 deals with victimization, sacrifice. Jupiter and Scorpio can also produce a person who is liable to have at least one near-death experience. So maybe he's even, before he actually died, maybe he did have near-death experiences. It just so happened that, you know, he actually died as well. But, you know, that's very, very heavy, guys. Very, very heavy. Then he has his Pluto square in Chiron, which is something else that could deal with him being very, you know, just, once again, just dysfunctional. That Pluto square in Chiron at the 3rd degree of Virgo, where, you know, he was just, you can't tell him nothing. Reckless. Can't tell him what to do. Okay. I also thought it was interesting that his moon, so he's an Aquarius moon, squaring his North Node. Okay. Dealing with where, you know, a lot of his fame came by way of social media, which it did. Like I said, he blew up on the YouTube era and posting a lot of his videos online. I even heard that he tweeted his location the day that he died, which could definitely, deal with that, but it could just deal with where a lot of his peers and a lot of even his family, he could have had a family that was very much caught up on that in that gangster scene, living the crime life. So, this is very interesting. Then he has Moon Square Pluto, which could deal with, it could deal with a lot of different things, but in the context of what we're talking about today, it's definitely one of those aspects that can create a lot of hostility, or a person who is under the constant pressure or threat of like attacks, and stuff like that. But it could also just create like a very insidious mind, a person who's just like, fuck it. Once again, very criminally motivated. And he had Sun Square Neptune. I believe his father was in prison for most of his life. That could deal with that, but that could also even deal with him being very, him not really being who he said he was in a lot of ways. A lot of these kids were very insecure too. But that could also even deal with where there could be issues with, like I said, drugs, of course. Especially with him having so much Pisces energy. He has his Mercury conjunct Mars and Pisces. He actually gives me thief tease. He probably was the type to steal from a nigga. Especially cars with that Mercury influence. That was probably another way they got down. Stealing cars, stealing shit. But that could also even deal with his, interest in music, right? Creativity. But it also speaks to how close he was with his brother. Trying to see what else. Venus in opposition to Jupiter. Venus at the 5th degree of Taurus, opposing Jupiter at that 12th degree of Scorpio. Once again, dealing with somebody who can make money in illegal ways. So he had a lot of stuff going on. Okay. Lots of stuff going on. But also having his Pluto and that Scorpio North Node squaring his Chiron at the 3rd degree of Virgo could deal with where he thought he was untouchable. Where he felt like, once again, he was the exception to the rule when it came to like, the street shit. Where he could have been, a criminal, but he was the type of criminal to like, because of that attitude, he was the type to like, one of those people is like they're criminals, but they're not good ones. That's what I get. Like the person who just fucking shit up. Like you're a criminal, but not a really good one. Let me stay my black ass in the house with this 16th birthday, 16th degree Virgo, midheaven. I don't necessarily know if the midheaven would be like when I'm talking about the 16th degree, I'm specifically talking about when it comes to like your personal planets and stuff, or like being born on the 16th. So, and that's just being honest. And sometimes with people with that 16 energy, because it can play out in a lot of different ways. Because like I said, 600 Breezy got that 16 going for him. And as of yet, he's still here. But, it could literally just deal with where these people like could have a lot of fucked up shit happen around them too. You know what I mean? So it just depends. Yes, I remember Rico Reckless 9 fighting Ash. Y'all remember that fight he was in? I'm going to pull that up one time and then I'm going to get up out of here. That fight. Let's pull it up, y'all. because that was so funny. And I'm like, oh my God. I see why y'all niggas be shooting each other all damn day. When I say he was fighting like a 5-year-old girl, like when I say my daughter could whip his ass with one hand tied behind her back, I'm like, this is a grown. And what made it so crazy is Rico Reckless did a whole lot of talking. You know, he one of them types to talk a lot. He run his mouth a lot. Always going viral, always saying this, always saying reckless fight. When I say I was screaming, laughing, I was screaming, guys. Look at him in the store. Wait. But y'all been out here. Look at him. Look at him. Windmilling, y'all. You niggas scared and I know it. Got killers all in road. But in real life, you weren't told. Who's sucker? That dumb, stupid motherfucker. I wish I know who's slumped. Bitch, I've been out here. But y'all been out here. Them yappers got me rolling. The op know they ain't blowing. They too busy fighting each other over weapons that was stolen. You niggas scared and I know it. Got killers all in Roseland. You had a pistol on YouTube, but in real life you weren't told. Who the sucker? That dumb stupid motherfucker. I wish I know. And it was both of them too. Like y'all is really windmilling. Like they was. He talked all that shit like he was just finna like beat a nigga ass and just straight up. I done seen better fights on the Bad Girls Club, y'all. I done seen better fights on the Bad Girls Club. And I would like I hope he never lives this down because he did so much talking just for this fight video to come out. And niggas is like, what the fuck? He's fine? You think, hold on. Let me show you something, baby. I don't know if you done seen him late. I don't know if we got the same eyes, but let's just like, I'm just a little confused as to what you think is cute. Like, look at him. Ew. Ew. This is cute to you? This is what you think is he? I can't even get my words out, y'all. It's so confusing to me. Look at Lil Durk. Look at Lil Durk from back in the day. Oh, I guess him and Rico Reckless used to be cool. They like two little badass kids in school. They look bad as hell. They look so bad. But that's not the point. Okay. Look at this. Look at this. And Rico Reckless is a Gemini. And he actually acts like a Gemini. You know, people who just do stuff like that. Gemini is another one of those signs who, yeah, they talk too fucking much, but they can be contrarians. People who just be doing shit, just saying shit, just to get a reaction out of people. And that's exactly like trolling. Geminis make excellent trolls. Excellent trolls. Rico Reckless looked like his booty glued together by shit. He like he don't wipe properly. He look kind of decent right here, but he ugly. Look at his ugly butt. I got astigmatism in my right. Girl, I got astigmatism in both eyes, sis. What's up with this? That don't count. Don't blame that shit on your astigmatism. Because what is the reason? He is so ugly. He do look slow. Not the tea. He look like, man. Yeah, Gemini is the crackhead energy. And them beaver teeth. Like I say, he fine, but he ain't got no hands. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Fine. That was so confusing. So on that note, I'm gonna head on out, y'all. I got some stuff to do. I hope y'all enjoyed today's live. I'm gonna keep this one up, okay? And I will see y'all soon for another installment of the Astrology Behind Chiraq. You guys make sure you take care of one another, love on one another. Yeah, and have a good one. I will see y'all soon. Bye.